man is back.
Oh, okay, boys. Oh my gosh, the man got that stuff. This is a 5 out of freaking 5.
It is beat making time.
Next week is E3 week. My album comes out next week.
I have the leopard. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But look at that, my God.
This is your boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. This is your boy Dash to try and find out. Back at it with another Pokemon Unite commentary video gameplay for you guys, and this is a story I've been meaning to do for weeks, and now I'm not. Oh my! There's just so much that's been popping up, like just so much, and there's a lot of it is important, but we got to talk about this. We got to get this out the way. And what am I talking about? Reading from an article that is printed on justice.gov, Justice Department sues Apple for monopolizing smartphone markets. Like, probably wondering, what's going on here? All right, let's read this article that was posted on March 21st. You know, obviously this was a month ago, and I got an article that's more up to date in terms of like how can you benefit from this. So let's continue on with this. Apple's broad-based exclusionary conduct makes it harder for Americans to switch phones or smartphones, undermines innovation for apps, products, and services, and imposes extraordinary costs on developers, businesses, and consumers. Oh, I like the sound of this. All right, let's move on. The Justice Department, joined by 16 other states and district attorneys general, filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against Apple for monopolization or attempted monopolization of smartphone markets in violation of Section 2 of the Sherman Act. The complaint filed in the U.S. District Court of the District of New Jersey alleged that Apple illegally maintains a monopoly over smartphones by selectively imposing contractual restrictions on and withholding critical access points from developers. Apple undermines apps, products, and services that would otherwise make users less reliant on the iPhone, promote bear with me, chat. Interoperability and lower costs for customers and developers. Apple exercises its monopoly power to extract more money from consumers, developers, content creators, artists, publishers, small businesses, and merchants, amongst others. Though its monopolization lawsuit, or through the monopolization lawsuit, the Justice Department and state attorneys general are seeking relief to restore competition to these vital markets on behalf of the American public. And this is a quote from Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. Consumers or customers, actually it's consumers, the customers have a T in it. Consumers should not have to pay higher prices because companies violate the antitrust law. Thank you, I agree. We allege that Apple has maintained monopoly power in the smartphone market, not simply by staying ahead of the competition on the merits, but by violating federal antitrust laws. If left unchallenged, Apple will only continue to strengthen its smartphone monopoly. The Justice Department will vigorously enforce antitrust laws that protect consumers from higher prices and fewer choices. That is the Justice Department's legal obligation and what the American people expect and deserve. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for a second. I got to think about this. Let me read this one part again. We allege that Apple has maintained monopoly power in the smartphone market, not simply by staying ahead of the competition on the merits, but by, okay, I'm going to just stop right there. Have these people not heard of the Galaxy? Like, the S20s, the S24s? You know, like, I have to say that between that phone and the Android, that phone is better. Got more features, way more features than the Apple. Now, granted, between the two, which is more popular? Apple. Like, I'm not dumb, I'm not naive, I'm not blind, I'm not stupid. Between the two, which brand is more popular? Like, Samsung or Apple? And the answer is Apple. Like, it really, really is. But and then the reason for that, though, I can never understand. It's really because of the name as opposed to what the phone can do. Because Samsung phones, whether they like, top tier phones or lower tier phones, they can do way more stuff than the iPhone. So I can never understand why people like to pick the iPhone where it can do less than what the Samsung phones can do, and they either cost the same or the Samsung phones will be costing less. It never made sense to me. It never did. It's stupid. But let's get back to the article real quick. So I left off here. No matter, continuing the quote by the way, no matter how powerful, no matter how prominent, no matter how popular, no company is above the law, said Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. Continuing on with her quote, through today's action, we reaffirm our unwavering commitment to that principle. And then here's another quote from Acting Associate, oh my gosh, he's titled, Acting Associate Attorney General Benjamin C. Miser. He said, when corporations engage in anti-competitive conduct, the American people and our economy suffer. Today's action against Apple sends a strong signal to those seeking to box out competitors and stifle innovation. Yeah, because there's no innovation with Apple, by the way. That's the Justice Department is committed to using every tool available to advance economic justice and root out anti-competitive practices wherever they arise. And then there's another quote. Here we go, from Assistant Attorney General Jonathan Cantor. For years, Apple responded to competitive threats by imposing a series of whack-a-mole contractual rules and restrictions that have allowed Apple to extract higher prices from consumers, impose higher fees on developers and creators, and to throttle competitive alternatives from rival technologies. Today's lawsuit seeks to hold Apple accountable and ensure it cannot deploy the same unlawful playbook in other vital markets. End quote. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of quotes. As alleged in the complaint, Apple had monopoly power in the smartphone and performance smartphones markets, and it uses its control over the iPhone to engage in a broad, sustained, and illegal course of conduct. This anti-competitive behavior is designed to maintain Apple's monopoly power while extracting as much revenue as possible. The complaint alleged that Apple's anti-competitive course of conduct has taken several forms, many of which continue to evolve today, including blocking innovative super apps. Apple has disrupted the growth of apps with broad functionality that would make it easier for consumers to switch between competing smartphone platforms. Ooh, okay. Suppressing mobile cloud streaming services. Apple has blocked the development of cloud streaming apps and services that will allow consumers to enjoy high-quality video games and other cloud-based applications without having to pay for expensive smartphone hardware. Excluding cross-platform messaging apps. Ooh, let's get on with this one. Apple has made the quality of cross-platform messaging worse, less innovative, and less secure for users, so that its customers have to keep buying iPhones. I want to clap for that one. Let's move on now. Diminishing the functionality of non-Apple smartwatches. Apple has limited the functionality of third-party smartwatches so that users who purchase the Apple Watch face substantial out-of-pocket costs if they do not keep buying iPhones. Ooh. Limited third-party digital wallets. Apple has prevented third-party apps from offering tap-to-pay functionality, inhibiting the creation of cross-platform third-party digital wallets. Ooh. Woo. All right. Let's move on. We're almost done with this article. The complaint also alleged that Apple's conduct extends beyond these examples, affecting web browsers, video communication, news subscriptions, entertainment, automotive services, advertising, location services, and more. Apple has every incentive to extend and expand its course of conduct to acquire and maintain power over next frontier devices and technologies. For over a century, the department has enforced the antitrust laws against illegal monopolies, deploying the Sherman Act to unfetter markets and restore competition. As alleged in the complaint, the department is seeking equitable relief on behalf of the American public to redress Apple's long-running, pervasive, anti-competitive conduct. So, and then they talk about like a little bit of Apple history. So let's move on for that. All right, so that's the end of the article. Now let's get on to a more up-to-date article titled, and this from the DominionPost.com, titled, "You Don't Need an iPhone to Benefit from Apple Lawsuit." Last month, the Department of Justice filed its long-awaited antitrust suit against Apple, accusing the company of monopolizing the smartphone market. This makes Apple the last of the US-based tech giants to face a major monopolization lawsuit from a federal agency. Ooh, Google also faces one as well, and Facebook and Amazon has been sued by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. So that's interesting. These suits may claim under Section 2 of the Sherman Act, an 1890 statute that makes it unlawful to attain or maintain a large degree of market power through exclusionary and unfair practices. The government's thoughtfully targeted case against Apple could, in the long term, give consumers sustainably more choices when it comes to digital platforms. In its complaint, the government makes a strong argument that Apple has used its market power over the iPhone to suppress competition through a two-pronged strategy. One, limit interoperability. There's that word again. Basically, compatibility between Apple and outside operating systems such as Google's Androids. And two, make non-Apple products work poorly on the iPhone. According to the Justice Department, this conduct has harmed consumers not only by degrading iPhone's users' experience, but also by making it hard for other smartphones to compete with Apple. Without strong competition, quality goes down, prices go up, and innovation lags, which is true with Apple and their iPhones. The other major tech lawsuits raise similar consumer welfare concerns, but this one uniquely takes on the market power wielded by a company as a technological ecosystem, a one-stop virtual shop where users can communicate, play, watch, listen, and buy. Consumers have a love-hate relationship with these ecosystems. We love them when they make our lives easier, which they sometimes do because we need shortcuts to navigate a virtual world rife with information overload. Apple and other companies satisfy that desire by providing an ecosystem where products can be accessed with a single password and are theoretically curated for quality and safety. You can iMessage, and we talk about that. We all know what you can do with the ecosystem. But let's move on. But sometimes we hate ecosystems. They could be anchored to living in a fishbowl instead of an ocean, trading in the variety of a far larger world for simplicity. The biggest obstacle to leaving the fishbowl is the cost of trying something else. If you want to stray from Apple, you may have to learn a whole different interface, give up apps you like, re-enter your data, track new passwords, and potentially spend thousands to replace your phone, watch, laptops, and so on. These switching costs give Apple market power to raise prices or degrade the quality of products without fear of consumers turning away. In addition, the ecosystem structures create a 360-degree view of our spending habits, likes and dislikes, and relationships. This data is extremely lucrative for companies and can seem futile for consumers to try to safeguard. When Apple changes its privacy policy with a take it or leave it update to lengthen the confusing terms of service, leave it doesn't feel like a real option. For decades, the enforcement of antitrust laws has been too easy to company ecosystems. It has, for example, been tolerant of non-horizontal mergers between companies that do not directly compete to sell a product to consumers. Regulators let Apple buy Siri, Shazam, Beats, Dart, Sky, which was stuttered in favor of Apple Weather, by the way, and Texas, which became Apple News Plus, to name a few of Apple's more than 100 acquisitions since the iPhone's release. The assumption was that mergers between non-horizontal firms do not reduce competitive choices for consumers, at least not in the short term. But that approach has ignored the commutative effects. As more properties accumulated under the Apple brand, it became harder for competitors to offer a viable alternative because they would have to enter dozens of markets for one. In addition, Apple and other companies may have felt emboldened by court decisions from the last 2 decades, stating that companies have only limited duties to deal with their competitors, giving tech platforms some cover to limit interoperability with outside products. But antitrust laws does make refusals to interoperate illegal when they are designed to exclude competitors. Okay, moving on. The Justice Department suit argues that Apple has blocked super apps that could serve as a bridge between platforms with the intent to keep consumers locked in. It also alleged that Apple had designed the iPhone to be nearly incompatible with wearables that would compete with the Apple Watch, so as to add another expensive piece of hardware you must replace to leave it leave its world of products, rather. And Apple is accused of degrading competitors' product, especially messages from Android phones, to create the impression that anything not made by Apple is inferior, which is true, that the world outside the fishbowl is scary and filled with green bubble text. Ultimately, the case invites the federal courts to answer a more fundamental question raised by today's economy. Should consumers have more freedom to choose their digital environments and move between fishbowls? The answer should be yes. So, look at this cheese right here. So, as of right now, I don't know what the status is on this lawsuit that Apple is facing. I hope it goes through, and I hope Apple loses. Because I said this before. I said this before in this video. I'm going to say it again here. The Apple iPhone is inferior to Samsung's Galaxy phones. Even though there's some things about the Galaxy phones that piss me off, and I may switch to another brand in the future. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. Between the two, Apple with the iPhone and Samsung with the Galaxy is the superior phone. I don't care what anybody says. The superior is the superior phone. And for Apple to say, yeah, those products that would normally work with Google and the Androids, nah, that won't work here, and all this other stuff that they be doing, yeah, it's time for a change. It's time for them to wrap that mug up, and it's time for them to lower their prices. If they did lower their prices, though, and offer the same crap that they're offering, then I'll be like, well, right, okay, that makes more sense. But their prices are way too high for a phone that don't have a lot of features, especially when it comes to their competitor, which is the Galaxy, which have more features. Heck, even like I'm looking at a commercial right now about the Google Pixel that have more features than the iPhone. Like, you can't make this stuff up. So yeah, Apple needs to change big time. And I'm gonna call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know what this is. This boy New Jig Ass B, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.